Have you ever stood in front of your kitchen trash bin, looking at vegetable scraps, fruit peels, and leftover rice, and suddenly felt a sense of regret? I believe that for many Vietnamese families, organic waste is still seen as something to be thrown away, rarely thought of as something worth reusing. But every time I take out the trash, I ask myself, what if we could turn these seemingly useless things into something valuable? How different would life feel? Reusing organic waste not only helps reduce the amount of trash released into the environment, but also creates a natural source of fertilizer that nourishes the soil and the plants around our homes. It's a meaningful way of living, one that protects the environment while bringing value back to ourselves and our community. When it comes to handling organic waste at home, I'm sure many of us have faced plenty of challenges. The unpleasant smells rising from the trash bin, tiny flies buzzing around the kitchen, or that helpless feeling when we see how much food waste gets thrown away every single day. These are very real concerns. I remember a friend once telling me that he forgot to close the trash lid one evening, and by the next morning, the entire kitchen was filled with a terrible smell and insects. Moments like that make us stop and ask, are we wasting a valuable resource that nature has given us? Maybe it's time to rethink our old habits and reflect on how we treat organic waste in our daily lives. When people talk about traditional composting, many of us have heard about compost activators like microbial starters, biological additives, or products advertised to speed up decomposition. But have you ever stood in front of a store shelf, unsure which one to choose, wondering whether it actually works or is just good marketing? A friend of mine once shared that every time he bought a new activator to try, the results were inconsistent. Sometimes it worked, sometimes nothing seemed to change. These products aren't cheap either, especially if you have to use them regularly. What bothers many people most is the dependence on outside products, making what should be a simple composting process feel complicated and expensive. Have you ever felt that way? I'd like to tell you about a close friend of mine who was once very passionate about composting at home. He tried everything, from buying expensive microbial products to experimenting with DIY formulas he found online, but the results were disappointing. The compost never became light and crumbly, and the bad smell lingered in one corner of his garden, pushing him to give up more than once. Have you ever been in that situation? I think when we start out, we all hope for a solution that's simple, easy, and still effective. That shared frustration is what motivated me to look for a gentler, more practical approach for everyone. Have you ever noticed that small box of baking soda quietly sitting in the corner of your kitchen? It's not just useful for baking or deodorizing. It can also be a surprisingly helpful secret for improving home composting. Baking soda, thanks to its chemical property of increasing pH and creating a slightly alkaline environment, has been noted by environmental experts for its positive effects on microbial activity. When the compost environment becomes more balanced in terms of alkalinity, beneficial microorganisms can thrive, helping organic matter break down faster and more completely. Many people may never have imagined that such a familiar household ingredient could play a role in regenerating soil and protecting the environment right in their own kitchen. To use baking soda in home composting, start by mixing a small amount of baking soda with water to create a very diluted solution. Then gently spray it over the surface of the compost pile and lightly mix everything so it's evenly absorbed. From my own experience, monitoring temperature and moisture is extremely important. Too dry and microorganisms slow down. Too wet and unpleasant odors can develop. One small reminder, don't use too much baking soda. Just a little is enough to support decomposition, because overuse can raise the pH too high and harm beneficial microbes. Take it step by step, Observe the changes and adjust based on your household's actual conditions. Let's take a closer look at how baking soda affects the breakdown of organic matter. When you add a small amount of baking soda to your compost, it creates a mildly alkaline environment that helps certain beneficial microorganisms work more actively, speeding up decomposition. But imagine this: if we add too much baking soda, the environment becomes overly alkaline. The pH rises too high, and many microorganisms may be inhibited or even stop working altogether. This not only slows down decomposition, but can also disrupt the small ecosystem inside your compost pile. That's why the key here is moderation, being careful and always observing small changes to keep everything in balance. I'd like to share some real stories from people who've tried using baking soda in their home composting. Some say that before, every time they opened the trash bin, the whole family would cringe at the smell. But after adding a bit of baking soda, the air felt noticeably fresher. A friend of mine said that his finished compost became lighter and more crumbly, perfect for plants, without needing to buy expensive activators. He even saved a decent amount of money each month. Have you experienced similar problems? Would you like to try this method today and feel the positive change for yourself? From a more expert perspective, using baking soda in composting offers a fresh and science-based approach. Simple studies on microorganisms show that a mildly alkaline environment created by baking soda can stimulate certain groups of microbes, especially those that break down organic matter quickly. This explains why baking soda can replace traditional activators while still delivering good results. Just imagine, by using a small amount of baking soda, a process that once felt slow and frustrating can become more efficient, saving time and effort. Still, like any method, it requires observation and adjustment to avoid disrupting the balance of beneficial microbes in your compost. When you start using baking soda for composting at home, the most important thing is to observe and listen to your compost pile. Don't rush. Pay attention to temperature, moisture, and color. If the compost is crumbly and no longer smells harsh, that's a good sign. Adjusting the amount of baking soda takes a gentle touch. Use just enough and avoid overdoing it. If decomposition seems slow or something feels off, try reducing the baking soda or turning the pile to improve airflow. Every experiment teaches you more about nature, and patience and observation will help you confidently turn kitchen waste into rich nutrients for your small garden. Choosing to compost with baking soda isn't just about reusing kitchen waste. It's also about reducing the amount of trash sent into the environment every day. Have you ever wondered where your trash goes after you throw it away, and what impact it leaves behind? Home composting transforms what seems useless into nutrient-rich organic fertilizer that feeds plants and greens up your garden. It's a small action with a big meaning, reflecting personal responsibility toward our shared environment. Each of us can contribute to protecting the planet, starting with simple habits right in our own kitchens. Most of us have felt that quiet happiness of watching our gardens grow greener and healthier. I still remember the first time I made clean compost for my own garden. It was a special feeling, a mix of pride and warmth. Have you ever felt joy watching plants thrive thanks to your own effort? It's not just a physical result, but a mental and emotional reward, a deep connection between people and nature. Every time I look back, I feel grateful for choosing to care for my small garden in the most natural way possible. I want to encourage you to try composting with baking soda at home. You'll see how simple, affordable, and effective it can be. A friend once told me that after just a few weeks, his family's small garden looked noticeably greener, with looser soil and more vibrant flowers. In my neighborhood, when people started handling organic waste together, the air felt fresher, and kids could play outside without worrying about bad smells. These small changes, when shared, can create a green, friendly, and inspiring community for all of us. When we learn to reuse kitchen waste and turn what we once threw away into something valuable, it's not just about saving money. It's a meaningful transformation of how we live. Imagine if each of us started with small actions like this every day. The environment around us would gradually become cleaner and more full of life. Living green and living with purpose isn't something far away. It's a choice each individual and family can make. And when that inspiration spreads, we're not only protecting the earth, but also planting seeds of happiness for ourselves and future generations. If you found these thoughts helpful, consider subscribing to the Compost channel and joining me on this journey toward a greener, smarter, and more proactive way of living. We're not just growing plants, we're restoring trust in the soil, in nature, and in ourselves.